Today, on Gander Mountains, tracks across Africa, our destination is Namibia, and our goal is the spiral horned beauty known as the southern Greater Kudus.
Safari has been called the last great adventure. For over a century, Africa has beckoned adventure-seeking sportsmen to her wild places. Today, a new generation of adventurers are answering the dark continent's call. Truly, the call of the wildest lands remaining on Earth, teeming with the world's richest treasure of wildlife. Welcome to Gander Mountains, Tracks Across Africa. Brought to you by Texas Hunt Co., the Dallas Safari Club, Hornady Manufacturing Company, the National Rifle Association, Sturm Ruger and Company, and Trigicon. And now, here's your host, internationally renowned author and big game hunter, Craig Boddington.
You know, I think the legend of the kudu as Africa's gray ghost started with Ernest Hemingway's Green Hills of Africa. And today, the kudu remains at the top of the list for most first-time African hunters. And you know, I've done a lot of kudu hunting, and for me, a really big kudu is still near the top of my list. Hi, welcome to Tracks Across Africa. This week, join Ruger's Randall Pence and AccuSports' Dave Regula and me as we pursue Greater Kudu with Pete Kibble in Namibia, one of today's really great hotspots for big Greater Kudu. I know you're going to love today's show.
Formerly known as German Southwest Africa, the country of Namibia is a rising star in southern Africa's ever-expanding safari industry. Namibia is one of Africa's great conservation success stories. The vast majority of land is privately owned, and far-thinking landowners long ago realized that game could pay its own way, with the international safari market placing both demand and value on wildlife. In recent years, many ranchers have converted altogether from livestock to game, capitalizing on the country's growing safari industry. Ruger's Randall Pence and AccuPoint's Dave Regula will be hunting with one of Namibia's top professional hunters, Pete Kibble, owner of Trophy Safaris. Pete's clients have access to some of the top hunting areas in the entire country, and his company, Trophy Safaris, is well known for producing top quality trophies and operating world-class camps. A Kenyan by birth, Pete literally grew up in the safari business, where he enjoyed relationships with safari legends like Harry Selby and John Dugmore. Renowned Kenyan hunter Fred Bartlett is his father-in-law. And under the influence of these great figures from safari's golden age, Pete learned his craft. Pete still prefers the classic tent camp, spread out under flat-topped acacia trees, and all his camps have the look and feel of traditional East African camps, combining the allure of yesterday with all the modern comforts. After the long international flight, it's always a good idea to head to the rifle range to ensure that both gun and scope have survived the journey and are ready for the safari.
Randall, what did you bring on this safari?
I got the new number 1 and a 1S and a 9.3 by 74.
Oh my, I heard they were going to do that.
First one out of the factory right there.
Now this 1S is a little bit lighter barrel.
Yeah, it's kind of a medium B size barrel. It's just a comfortable gun to carry. It's a comfortable gun to shoot. real mild recoil for what kind of energies you're getting.
And 9.3 by 74R, let me see that. Oh, that is a beautiful old cartridge.
Yeah, that thing's been around a while.
Well, you don't see them much in the United States, but I mean, this is a real popular European caliber for wild boar and bear, and they've used it up to buffalo. Maybe it's a little light for that, but it's a beautiful old cartridge, and with its rim, it's a perfect cartridge for the single shot.
We're just hoping it's going to get a good kudu.
Well, I think it will. We'll get a kudu and a gemsbuck, and I think I'm just 100% certain that Hornady's going to load for it. And
I hope
be
so.
A good thing. Well, they make the bullets. It's a beautiful old cartridge. Wow.
Yeah, we're excited.
You know, the first time I ever used a Ruger #1 was right here in Namibia in about 1979.
Right.
And it worked good for me then, and it's going to work well for
I've
you.
shot a #1 since about 1975 and bought it used, and this is about the 7th or 8th one I've had. I just like single shots.
Oh, I do too. I like this one. It's just a classic rifle. And is there a better looking rifle on the market than that?
I don't think so.
Oh my.
I'm a little prejudiced.
Let's see
but
how
I
it
don't
shoots.
think- All right, let's do
All
it.
right.
What's happening?
With Randall ready to go, Dave brought out his Ruger Model 77 338, topped with a Trijicon 3x9 scope for a few shots. The rifles are sighted in, and the kudu hunt begins when Gander Mountains Tracks Across Africa returns.
And now, for this week's Focus on Safari, brought to you by Ruger.
Volumes have been written about choosing the right rifle and the right cartridge for a dangerous game, but I'm not sure enough care is given to choosing the right rifle for plains game. Now, truthfully, your favorite deer rifle is probably going to be just fine. Depends a little bit on the area you're going to and the kind of game you're hunting, and obviously the caliber has to be adequate for the largest game you're going to be hunting, but your plains game rifle is going to be used for small antelope as well as large, and some of the shots may be a little bit further than others, so you need a rifle that's accurate, dependable, and most importantly, that you shoot well. So often we talk about the bolt action rifle as the only choice, but that's really not true. A single shot like this Ruger #1 in any appropriate chambering is a perfectly suitable and in fact quite excellent plains game rifle. Again, the main thing is it's got to be accurate, you've got to shoot it well, you've got to be thoroughly familiar with it, and put a good versatile scope. This one's got a 3-9 Trijicon on it. Make sure the scope is suited to the terrain you're going to be hunting as well.
Early in the hunt, Dave had taken a beautiful Gemsbok bull, one of the trophies Namibia is famous for.
Perfect shot. Well done.
With his Gemsbok in the skinning shed, Dave set his sights on kudu. Pete's area holds a tremendous number of kudu, and his strict management system assures his hunters of an excellent opportunity to look over a large number of bulls. Many first-time hunters to Africa get all too focused on inches as they start their quest for a kudu bull. However, other factors such as age, horn mass, and the overall conformation of the horns must be taken into account as you seek your trophy. Look for a mature bull and listen to your professional hunter's advice on when to pass and when to shoot, as his knowledge of the animal and area are the key ingredients to your success with these spiral horn beauties. Dave and Pete had passed on numerous kudu and had seen some trophy bulls they were unable to close with. And now, nearing the end of the safari, Pete saw a kudu that caught his eye.
Dave, as we were glassing up there, you remember we saw that lovely kudu down here. And it is our last morning on our way back to camp, and I thought to myself, let's go for him. So I think what we should do is come along this riverbed here and get down around the back here and see if we can't get to grips with him, okay? All right.
although well hit. Pete and Dave knew the bull was still on his feet, and they moved into position for Dave to put in a finishing shot.
Congratulations,
Thanks,
Dave. That
Pete.
was a great shot,
Great
eh?
time.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And all the way from the bottom there to here. Fantastic shooting. Your first kudu in Africa. Wonderful. He's a lovely animal. Beautiful, eh?
They're quite an animal.
Oh, they are, yes.
Very hardy.
Well done.
Ruger's Randall Pence takes to the hills after a big Namibian bull when Gander Mountains tracks across Africa returns.
And now for this week's special conservation message, brought to you by the Dallas Safari Club.
Settled many generations ago, much of the wildlife habitat in southern Africa is private land. As was the case in the United States, during the pioneering era, most of the wildlife was eliminated to make room for crops and livestock. And I can remember a time when game was still relatively scarce in South Africa and Namibia. An active safari industry has changed this. Ranchers and farmers have learned that their lands are better suited to Africa's diverse game species than to livestock, and international sportsmen and women have placed value on that game, greater value than can be realized from cattle, sheep, or goats. In my hunting career, I've seen the wildlife of southern Africa increase by tenfold and more, with modern ranchers actively improving the habitat for game and investing in the breeding and reintroduction of species that were once nearly gone. Today, South Africa alone hosts as many as 9,000 registered game ranches, a vast reservoir of wildlife that exists only because of the market created by sport hunting.
Although a big kudu was at the top of Randall's trophy list, he also took advantage of the opportunity to hunt Gemsbok.
Hey, how's it, boy? Congratulations,
Thank you,
Randall.
sir.
Good shot.
Thank you, thank
Excellent.
you.
That was a hard stalk, eh?
Yeah, we walked
And then,
a long ways before we got a shot at this
I'll
one.
say. And then
And later, a big blue wildebeest bull.
Get ready for the ride.
okay, we're actually sending the car away because we've seen 4 kudu bulls down there, of which one is a shooter, and they're concentrating on the car at the moment, and hopefully they'll start feeding because the wind is not in our favor either, and we've got to work around it now and see how we get on. Plan is, Randall, that we'll cross over here, right up into that ridge, into the forest line, and then go right round so that we can get this wind in our favour and come back down onto the kudu.
That looks good to me. It's a long walk, but it looks good.
Yeah. I just said optical illusion is not as far as it really is. What we'll do is wait here a little bit because there's 2 of them looking up.
Okay.
Something has spooked them a little bit,
Okay.
but the big one that we're interested in is still feeding.
Okay.
But we daren't proceed at this stage. Just wait a little bit. Let
Okay.
them calm down again. 600 yards out. And that's too far. We need to get closer.
This week's shot placement brought to you by Trigicon.
Although similar to our American elk in size, the kudu is not usually especially tough for his size. The tricky part with kudu is his shoulder hump, created by tall dorsal spines above the spinal column. This makes his vital zone seem taller than it really is, so carefully divide the animal into horizontal thirds. For the shoulder heart shot, come up the on foreleg 1/3 into the body. For the lung shot, come up the rear line of the foreleg 1/3 to 1/2 into the body. On kudu, never shoot above the halfway point.
There's more kudu hunting from Namibia when Gander Mountains Tracks Across Africa returns.
And now for this week's trophy tip, brought to you by Hornady.
This is an East African greater kudu from Tanzania, and you know the 5 races of kudu look very similar, but they're based on regional horn sizes. And the East African greater kudu is, on average, considerably smaller than the southern greater kudu. And you work north, the Abyssinian greater kudu is smaller yet, and the western greater kudu off in Central Africa is the smallest of all. But really, they don't look much different when you put them side by side on a wall, especially when you talk about a really good bull like this one. But the East African greater kudu is considered separately in the record book, so if you're hunting in an area and they say, well, we've got greater kudu, you better make sure which greater kudu they're talking about. Maybe you've hunted it and maybe you haven't. And you know, anywhere where you're hunting kudu, this is what you're looking for, a mature bull with deep spirals and heavy horns, and he's completed the second turn and with good long sharp tips on top. It's a beautiful bull.
He went right in behind the shoulder.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Hell of a shot. Hell of a shot. Hell of a shot. Well done. My God. After a long, hard stalk, eh? Let's go up there and have a look. Is it in that one? That is nice. Deep from a
Guys, I was so far away I didn't even hear your shot. What happened?
We walked about 2 clicks on a big circle all the way around this animal and come in from behind him because the wind was not in our favor for a while, and then shot him at about, Pete says, about 350 yards.
Looks like you made a wonderful shot on him.
Yeah, we had to change rifles. We started out with the 9.3 and the number 1. It's kind of what we wanted to take him with, but when we couldn't get close enough, we used the old 77 Ruger and 338 Winchester to get the distance out of it.
It's a wonderful kudu, Randall. You needed to take him, and you're lucky you had a rifle with a little more range to it.
I am. I'm extremely pleased. This is just an incredible experience to be here in Africa and do this. It's just totally exciting for me.
Well, Pete, you said you had some good kudu here.
Yes, they are. It's just a question of finding them.
Yeah, that's a dandy.
Yeah,
that is a beautiful
He's
kudu.
pretty in lovely curls.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all in all, it turned out fine, and you did an amazing shot. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well
Yeah.
done, Randall. And that
Thank
bullet
you.
is right on the shoulder. That's just perfectly done.
Gander Mountains Tracks Across Africa has been brought to you by Gander Mountain, We Live Outdoors, and presented by the Dallas Safari Club, Texas Hunt Co., Hornady Manufacturing Company, the National Rifle Association, Sturm, Ruger and Company, and Trigicon.
Closed captioning provided by VRS, the world's most versatile gun rest system.